Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, we will be talking about why DS questions are difficult to solve, why it takes longer to solve than PS questions, and how to solve DS questions easily, quickly, and accurately. Background of DS questions. 1. The introduction of DS questions. The GMAT was first devised as an entrance exam for MBA programs. It is composed of two main sections, math, quantitative, and verbal. The math quantitative section is composed of two types of questions, problem solving PS and data sufficiency DS. The GMAT math covers 11th grade math. The GMAT invented DS questions based on logic to increase the overall difficulty level of the GMAT math and to give an objective tool for schools to differentiate between students. DS questions are logic-based rather than based on simple math. Some of them are similar to IQ test questions. 2. What makes DS questions so different? A GMAT score report shows both VR, verbal reasoning, and QR, quantitative reasoning scores. The perfect scores for these two sections are VR, at least 42, QR, at least 49, and total, at least 760. As indicated in the wording of the title of each section. The GMAT tests students on their reasoning skills, and DS questions are math problems devised, more or less, to make the GMAT more logic-based. Students typically find DS questions difficult to get used to, even when they have strong math knowledge. The range is not that wide, but DS questions are difficult because they are based on logic. Correctly solving DS questions is critically important for students to achieve scores above 49, 50, and 51. Without knowing how to tackle DS questions properly, it is very unlikely that students will achieve scores above 49. So be sure to understand that DS questions are logic-based and learn how to solve them thoroughly before the exam. The reasons why DS questions are difficult to solve. There are 3 reasons why DS questions are difficult to solve. The first reason is that DS questions are designed to confuse students into making mistakes. For instance, if D is the answer, then this means A, B, and C are all sufficient and could also be answers. So students may think that A, B, or C is the right answer. This refers to common mistake type 3 and 4. Also, even when students are very confident about the GMAT, and think they have answered questions correctly, it is sometimes the case that their scores turn out to be lower than expected. Often this is because there are dummy questions that do not count against their scores, and students have answered mainly these questions correctly. You should be aware of the dummy questions as well. The second reason is that there are 31 questions to be solved within 62 minutes. It is not easy, even for students with a strong math background, to finish the exam within this time frame. Largely due to this insufficient time, the average score of the GMAT math remains around 38 in the world and 33 in the US. You are going to experience a serious time pressure. It might feel like the time flies when taking the GMAT exam. The third reason why DS questions are difficult is because of how the explanations are written in the official guide. If students follow these explanations step by step, they cannot solve one question within 2 minutes. Let's take a look at the conventional approach proposed by the official guide. If condition 1 is sufficient, then the answer must be A or D. If condition 2 is not sufficient, then the answer must be A. If condition 2 is sufficient, then the answer must be D. If condition 1 is not sufficient, then the answer must be B, C, or E. If condition 2 is sufficient, then the answer must be B. If condition 2 is not sufficient, then the answer must be C or E. If both conditions together are sufficient, then the answer must be C. If both conditions together are still not sufficient, the answer must be E. There are just too many ways to arrive at answers. The conventional approach also suggests students go through very detailed solving steps that can be both tiring and ineffective. Although many students buy the official guide because it is a GMAT official publication, students should not take its explanations at face value. On average, many of my students with a strong math background finish the math section with 2 seconds left. The title of the book is problematic. Students are confused because the book is called an official guide. Also, there are physics questions, speed rate, and work rate in the GMAT as well, which makes the exam even more difficult. Best way to approach DS questions. Since students usually cannot solve 31 questions within 62 minutes by following the explanations in the official guide, they should not consider them the standard ways to solve DS questions. Rather, they are just one of many ways to approach DS questions. Since DS questions are logic-based, students should have enough practice on logic-based problems. The goal of these logic-based questions is not to find an answer, but to deduce an answer. DS questions are difficult because they are unfamiliar. You should approach the questions logically. Finally, when solving DS questions, students should know and understand the many common mistakes made in the process. It is also important to study the variable approach and analyze these common mistake types. It is a sure way to achieve scores above 49, 50, and 51 on the GMAT math. Be sure to study the variable approach, especially common mistake type 3 and 4.